Hi everyone, my name is Kim. I just did a video on ESFJs and their when they're under stress, their loops and their grips, what they fall into. But we're going to learn today about when ESTJs, when they're under stress, we're going to find out about their loops and their grip. Okay, so ESTJs, very responsible individuals. They have good work ethics. I would have to say all SJs have good work ethics. That's important to them. ESTJs, since they lead with TE, they're all about efficiency. They're all about, they're very pragmatic. They're logical people, but they're people. They are responsible individuals, so you can depend on them. All right, so let's get into their grip. Okay, so when they're under stress, they go into the FI grip. Now, when they're in FI, and so they're bypassing TE, they're bypassing SI, and they're bypassing extroverted intuition. Okay, so those functions they're not using them. They're bypassing them. They're just using, introverted feeling. And so when they are using introverted feeling, they are going to be overly emotional. They're going to have emotional outbursts, whether it's snapping at people or because they're impatient. Whether it's they become really overly emotional. They have outbursts because normally, their TE is, they're a thinker, ESTJs. So, but they're an objective thinker, so they don't get too phased, by, overly emotional people. In fact, when they are communicating with someone that's overly emotional, they kind of will get uncomfortable. And I think that is for all types, that have their thinking higher up. They're going to be uncomfortable with emotional intensity, but when they're in this grip, they're very emotional, very intense. They FI. FI, they have internal values. And FI is their inferior function. So it's, I would imagine a lot of ESTJs, they don't use their FI as much. They don't work on it as much, but there are some that do. But it's very uncharacteristic for them to have these emotional outbursts, snapping at people, being impatient, being a stickler for, if someone's not doing, a project or something at work, they're ESTJs, they, when they're under stress, they're going to snap at someone because they're not following procedures. They're not following the rules. And ESTJs are all about that. They follow procedures. They follow rules in the workplace, you know. And they can be that way even in their personal life. You know, you know, when, and so FI, yeah, FI is not about procedures. It's not about, you know, structure, routines, schedules, planning. FI is not about that. Yeah, and so the rest of their functions, they've bypassed them. Okay, yeah, so yeah, they bypass their introvert sensing, so which helps ESTJs, you know, with their life being structured and organized and to follow routines and schedules and all that stuff. They value that stuff. This is their way of living, but when they're in FI, they don't do that. They have no sort of schedule, no sort of routine, not interested in planning, you know, and so to them, when they're not using those functions and just FI, it means, you know, they're not having a clean, orderly, spotless place, you know, because FI is not about that. It's not about keeping routines. It's not about keeping structure and scheduling and planning. That's introverted sensing. But they bypass that. They also, they bypass their extroverted intuition, which, you know, helps them to think in terms of possibilities and gives them ideas. And so yeah, they're bypassing that. So when they're in FI, they're not open to new ideas, new perspectives, that sort of thing. And that is NE. You know, they have NE, but when they're in this grip, they're not thinking in terms of possibilities and ideas. You know, they're just, you know, things are not balanced. You know, introvert feeling, you know, that's all they're using. And yeah, their type is not balanced. And, you know, they behave, you know, like snapping at people, being overly emotional, which they aren't. It's out of character for them to be overly emotional. They have TE. And TE is focused on objective logic. Okay? And so when they're not using their TE, you know, when they're in the grip, so there is no, they're not using logic. They're not depending on their logic. They're just you know, tending to their feelings and what they dislike, what they like, you know, and normally, you know, FI is last in their function stack. Generally, not, you know, generally ESTJs, some of them are not focusing on FI as much. A lot of them are very, they're pragmatic, they're thinkers, objective thinkers. So they're not so fazed by emotions. They're uncomfortable with emotions. That's TE. TE is that way. And so when they're in FI, they're not, TE is about efficiency, being strategic, getting things done. And so they're not doing that. They're not getting things done. They're not planning things, like goals, setting goals and stuff. They're not focusing on routines and structure. And so things in their life are chaotic because ESTJs need these things. It's what keeps their life secure and consistent. That's the way they like it. All right, I'm going to get into the loop now, and that is TESI. Now, TESI, they focus way too much on details, on, just too focused on that, too focused on details, they're rigid, they're way too focused, and I mean to the max, about structure, about routines and planning and all that stuff. They become too rigid, so it's not balanced. It's like they structure every minute of the day, like having a list. Okay, wake up in the morning at 8 o'clock, have breakfast 9 o'clock. So the structure, the routines and all and details, they become too rigid from that. And that's SI, okay? And TE is, they're all about efficiency. They're all about getting things done. But that could be, too extreme. They're too extreme when it comes to the here and now. They can be perfectionists. So, they're efficient machines, but they're not really being efficient because they're so perfectionistic that it's like they have to revise and refine something, until they get, the most efficient way to do things, so that's TE, that is the TE and SI loop. Anyways, I'm going over my time here. I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And I'm going to say goodbye.